In my husband's clothes, I found a key with an unfamiliar address engraved on a metal fob. When I heard his voice from downstairs, I didn't ask where the key had come from, but I was determined to solve the mystery. Nat, where'd you put my blue tie? The meeting starts in an hour. My fingers closed around the cold metal, squeezing until the edges bit into my palm. I'd been doing laundry, a mundane Sunday chore, when I found them tucked deep in Eric's suit pocket. Keys that weren't ours, with an address in a neighborhood across town I didn't recognize. Coming. I called back, my voice surprisingly steady as I slipped the keys into my own pocket. I handed Eric his tie, watching his face for any sign, any flicker of awareness about what I'd discovered. But he just smiled, kissed my forehead, and adjusted his collar in the hallway mirror. "Don't wait up," he said, grabbing his briefcase. "The Henderson account might run late." The Henderson account. The same excuse he'd been using for months now, every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes weekends. As soon as his car pulled away, I grabbed my purse and the mysterious keys. I wasn't going to wait, wondering, imagining. Not this time. 40 minutes later, I stood before a modern apartment building in North Philly, far from our suburban home. My heart pounded as I matched the apartment number from the keychain to the directory. Unit 503. When the elevator doors opened on the 5th floor, I hesitated. This was the moment I could still turn back, could still preserve what remained of my trust in the man I'd been married to for 8 years. The man who had held my hand through 3 failed IVF treatments, promising we'd keep trying as long as it took to start our family. I inserted the key into the lock of Unit 503. It fit perfectly. The door swung open to reveal a modestly furnished apartment, not a temporary crash pad or bachelor hideaway, but something much worse, a home. A lived-in space with plants, framed pictures, and a bookshelf stocked with Eric's favorite authors. My legs carried me inside as if on autopilot. The living room opened to a small kitchen with dishes in the drying rack. A coffee mug from Eric's alma mater sat on the counter, lipstick smudged on the rim. Not my shade. That's when I heard it, a soft mechanical whirring coming from down the hallway. Following the sound, I pushed open a door and froze. A nursery. Pale yellow walls, a white crib, and a mobile spinning lazily above it, creating the whirring sound that had drawn me in. The room was ready but empty, waiting for its occupant. On the dresser sat a silver frame holding a photograph of Eric, my Eric, with his arm around a heavily pregnant blonde woman. Both beaming at the camera, his hand resting protectively over her swollen belly. My knees buckled. I grabbed the dresser for support, sending the photograph crashing to the floor. The glass shattered, but I couldn't bring myself to care. 8 years of marriage, 3 years of fertility treatments, all while he had been building this parallel life. The sound of a key in the front door jolted me back to reality. I scrambled to my feet, clutching the broken frame in my hand, the jagged glass cutting into my finger. Blood dripped onto the pristine nursery carpet as I stood, trapped and waiting. "Eric? Is that you?" A woman's voice called out. "You're early." I thought you had as she appeared in the doorway, her sentence dying as our eyes met. She was beautiful, younger than me, with a cascade of blonde hair and wide blue eyes that now widened in shock. Most strikingly, her very pregnant belly strained against her fitted dress. "Who are you?" she asked, backing away, one protective hand moving to her stomach. "What are you doing in my apartment?" I held up the photograph, blood smearing the glass. "I'm Natalie, Eric's wife." Her face drained of color. "Wife?" "No, that's not. Eric is divorced. He's been divorced for years. We're getting married after the baby." I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "We celebrated our 8th anniversary 3 months ago. Santorini. He has the pictures on his desk at home." She shook her head, backing into the hallway. "No, you're lying. This is some kind of sick joke." I stepped toward her, and she flinched. "How long have you known him?" 2 years, she whispered. "We met at a conference in Boston." He told me his divorce was finalized just before we met. 2 years. While I'd been injecting myself with hormones, crying over negative pregnancy tests, blaming my body for failing us, he'd been here, starting another family. He never wears his wedding ring at work, I said, more to myself than to her. Says it interferes with typing. I never questioned it. Her breathing quickened. Who are you really? What do you want? I told you who I am. I held up my left hand, displaying the wedding band and engagement ring I hadn't removed in 8 years. Natalie Green. Eric's wife. The one who's been trying to have his baby for 3 years. She staggered back, gripping the wall for support. This can't be happening. What's your name? I asked, surprised by how calm I sounded. Jessica, she whispered. Jessica Campbell. Well, Jessica, I think you and I have a lot to talk about. For 2 hours, Jessica and I sat at her kitchen table, piecing together the fragments of our shattered realities. She showed me texts, emails, photos, evidence of a relationship that mirrored my own marriage in its seeming devotion. Eric had constructed 2 complete lives, maintaining them with a meticulous attention to detail that was both impressive and horrifying. He said his ex-wife couldn't have children, Jessica said, her voice hollow. That it was why they divorced. I swallowed hard. We've been in fertility treatment for 3 years. The doctors say it's unexplained infertility. We've spent over $70,000 on IVF. Oh my God, she whispered, her hand protectively covering her belly. We got pregnant accidentally. He was so happy. My stomach twisted. All those nights I'd cried myself to sleep, blaming my body for failing us, while he was here, creating the family he'd promised me with someone else. When is the baby due? I asked, not sure why it mattered. 3 weeks. Her eyes filled with tears. He's been so attentive, getting everything ready. Building the crib himself. The crib? I thought of our guest room at home, filled with abandoned baby items I couldn't bear to return after each failed IVF cycle. Eric had promised we'd use them eventually. Does his brother know about you? I asked. Jessica nodded. Mark comes over for dinner sometimes. He helped Eric move me in here last year. Mark. My brother-in-law who hugged me at family gatherings, asking when we'd finally give him a niece or nephew. The rage that surged through me was so intense I had to grip the edge of the table. I need some air, I said, standing abruptly. Jessica looked alarmed. You're not leaving, are you? He'll be here soon. Thursday evenings he always brings dinner. Thursday evenings. Board game night with friends, he told me. A standing engagement for the past year. I'm not going anywhere, I assured her. We're both going to be right here when Eric arrives. I texted Eric from Jessica's phone. Can you come a little early? Not feeling great. Miss you. His response was immediate. Of course, babe. Leaving now. Need anything? I showed Jessica the text. She looked sick. He calls me babe too. Original, I said dryly. While we waited, I called my friend Daniel, the only person at my office who knew about our fertility struggles. I need a favor, I said quietly, stepping onto Jessica's balcony. Can you bring me the file? You know which one. Daniel had helped me organize our medical records for insurance appeals. He knew exactly what I meant. Now? Is everything okay? He asked. Nothing is okay. But I need those papers. Can you bring them to this address? I gave him Jessica's apartment information. I'll be there in 30, he promised. When I returned inside, Jessica was sitting very still, staring at an ultrasound image magnet to the refrigerator. He has another apartment, she said suddenly. Sometimes he stays there when he has early meetings. Says it's closer to the office. I laughed bitterly. That would be our house, Jessica. The one we bought together 6 years ago. She began to cry quietly, one hand rubbing circles on her belly as if to soothe the baby within. How far is your family? I asked. Chicago. I moved here for work 3 years ago. Eric's been my whole support system. Of course he had. Eric always gravitated toward people who needed him. It fed something in him to be the provider, the savior. I'd been the same when we met, fresh out of college, trying to establish myself in a new city, no family nearby. Do you have a good relationship with them? Your family? Jessica nodded, wiping tears. My mom wanted me to move home when I got pregnant, but Eric convinced me to stay. You should call her, I said firmly. Tonight. Tell her everything. What are you going to do? She asked, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I took a deep breath. First, I'm going to talk to my husband. Then I'm going to destroy him. Daniel arrived before Eric, dropping off a sealed envelope with a sympathetic squeeze of my shoulder. Whatever this is, you don't deserve it, he said. Call me anytime, day or night. After he left, I opened the envelope and spread the contents across Jessica's dining table. 3 years of fertility treatment records, hormone levels, sperm analyses, ultrasounds, procedure reports. What are you looking for? Jessica asked, peering over my shoulder. I'm not sure yet, I admitted. But something doesn't add up. I'd been through these records countless times, searching for some explanation for our failures. But now, with the paradigm of my marriage completely shifted, I looked at them with fresh eyes. Then I found it, tucked in the back of a sperm analysis report from 2 years ago. A paragraph I'd overlooked, buried in technical language. Patient shows evidence of prior vasectomy. Recommend follow-up consultation regarding reversal options. My breath caught. Oh my God. What is it? Jessica leaned in. Eric had a vasectomy. Before he met me. The paper trembled in my hand. He never told me. All this time, all these treatments, he knew they would never work. Jessica's face went white. That's monstrous. I nodded, numb with shock. The doctor must have told him privately. He never mentioned it to me. Just kept letting me go through treatment after treatment. My voice broke, watching me blame myself. Then how? Jessica gestured to her pregnant belly. Reversal, maybe, I said. Or he never had one and this report is wrong. But I doubt that. A key turned in the lock. Jessica and I froze, our eyes locking across the table. Then the front door opened. Jess? I brought soup from that place you love on South Street. Eric's voice, warm and loving, so familiar it made my stomach clench. How are you feeling, babe? He rounded the corner to the dining area and stopped dead, the paper bag in his hand dropping to the floor with a dull thud. His gaze darted from Jessica to me, then to the medical papers spread across the table. Natalie, he said, my name sounding foreign on his lips. What are you doing here? I smiled coolly. Hello, Eric. Jessica and I were just getting acquainted. Comparing notes. This isn't. I can explain. His eyes were wild, searching the room as if for an escape route. Explain what? I asked, voice perfectly steady. Your second apartment? Your pregnant girlfriend? Or maybe the vasectomy you never mentioned before letting me inject myself with hormones for 3 years. Jessica gasped. You told me you wanted a family more than anything, that your ex-wife couldn't have children. Ex-wife, I repeated, the word bitter on my tongue. That's an interesting way to describe your current spouse. Eric stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. Please, both of you, just let me explain. This isn't what it looks like. I stood, gathering the medical papers into a neat stack. Actually, Eric, this is exactly what it looks like. It looks like you've been living a double life. It looks like you've been lying to both of us about fundamental aspects of our relationships. Natalie, please, he begged. Let's talk about this at home. Home. I laughed. Which one? The suburban house where your infertile wife waits for you? Or this apartment where your pregnant girlfriend is nesting? Jessica rose to her feet too, one hand supporting her lower back. How could you do this? To both of us. Eric's face hardened, his eyes darting between us. You're working together against me now? After everything I've done for both of you. Done for us. I echoed incredulously. You mean like letting me believe something was wrong with me for years while knowing you'd had a vasectomy? Or telling Jessica her pregnancy was a miracle when you'd clearly had it reversed without telling your wife? You don't understand, he insisted. I was trying to protect you. Both of you. From what? Jessica demanded, her voice rising. The truth. Eric's phone buzzed. He glanced at it distractedly, and I saw panic flash across his face. Problem? I asked sweetly. Mark's downstairs, he muttered. Says he brought the crib mobile we ordered. Your brother? Jessica asked. The one who knew about both of us. Invite him up? I suggested. I think it's time we had a family meeting. Mark's face when he stepped into the apartment and saw me sitting beside Jessica was almost comical. His eyes bulged, and he actually took a step backward as if to flee. Natalie, he stammered. What? How? Hello, Mark, I said pleasantly. Found some keys in Eric's pocket this morning. Thought I'd see where they led. Mark looked desperately at Eric, who stood rigidly by the window, arms crossed defensively. Bro, what do we do? We? I raised an eyebrow. So you've been an active participant in this deception? Mark swallowed visibly. He's my brother. And what am I? I demanded, my composure finally cracking. I've been your sister-in-law for 8 years. You've sat at my dinner table, accepted my Christmas gifts, hugged me at family gatherings. I told him it would end badly, Mark said weakly. I told him to choose. Choose? Jessica interjected. Like we're options in a catalog? Eric stepped forward. That's enough. Mark, go home. This is between Natalie, Jessica, and me. No, I said firmly. Mark stays. I want him to witness this. I turned to face my husband directly. When did you have the vasectomy, Eric? He flinched. College. I was 20. Never wanted kids. But you let me go through fertility treatments, I said, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. 3 years, Eric. You watched me sob over negative tests, inject myself with hormones, gain weight, lose hair. You held my hand through 2 miscarriages from embryo transfers. I thought maybe it would work anyway, he mumbled. Vasectomies can fail. And when did you have it reversed? I pressed. His eyes flicked to Jessica. 1.5 years ago. The timeline clicked into place. 6 months after he'd met Jessica. While I was still undergoing treatments. Jessica made a small, wounded sound. You had a medical procedure to have a baby with me while your wife was trying to get pregnant? It wasn't like that, Eric insisted. I fell in love with you, Jess. I didn't plan it. And when you said you wanted children, what about what I wanted? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. What about the children I begged for? Eric had no answer. Mark shifted uncomfortably. Look, Nat, he tried to make it work with you first. It's not like what? I cut him off. Not like he deliberately kept me in a childless marriage under false pretenses. Not like he let me believe something was wrong with my body while he was the one preventing conception all along. I never said anything was wrong with you, Eric protested weakly. I slammed my hand on the table. You didn't have to. I blamed myself. Every failed cycle, every negative test, I hated my body, thought it was defective. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? Eric looked away. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't begin to cover it, I said, gathering the medical documents and standing. I'm leaving now. You have 24 hours to get your things out of our house. Yes, the suburban one with the nursery I've been slowly filling for 3 years. After that, I'm changing the locks and calling a divorce attorney. Natalie, please, he began. Save it, I cut him off. I'm done listening to your lies. I turned to Jessica. Call your mother. Go to Chicago. Have your baby surrounded by people who actually love you. Jessica nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. I walked to the door, then paused, turning back to face the 3 of them, my cheating husband, his pregnant girlfriend, and the brother who'd enabled it all. By the way, I said, holding up the medical papers, my lawyer will be very interested in these. Deliberately concealing a vasectomy while your spouse undergoes fertility treatments? I'm not a legal expert, but I believe that constitutes fraud. Maybe medical battery. I guess we'll find out. Eric's face went pale. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? I smiled thinly. You clearly don't know me at all. I glanced at Jessica. And neither will your baby. Goodbye, Eric. I closed the door behind me with a soft click, walked calmly to the elevator, and managed to hold myself together until I reached my car. Then I gripped the steering wheel and screamed until my throat was raw, purging 3 years of misplaced guilt and 8 years of betrayal in one primal release. When I finally started the engine, my hands were steady. For the first time in years, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. 3 months later, I sat across from my attorney as she slid the final divorce settlement across her polished desk. He caved on everything, she said, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. The house, the investments, even the retirement accounts. Full admission of fault. He was afraid of the fraud lawsuit, I said, skimming the document. She nodded. The threat of criminal charges tends to focus the mind wonderfully. Plus, I imagine he's short on funds with a newborn. I'd heard through mutual friends that Jessica had indeed gone to Chicago, given birth to a boy, and filed for child support. Eric was now stretched between 2 households, sleeping on Mark's couch according to rumors. Have you decided what you're doing with the house? My attorney asked. Selling it, I said without hesitation. Too many bad memories. What I didn't tell her was that I'd already accepted a job offer in Boston, a fresh start in a new city. I'd also scheduled a consultation with a fertility specialist there, this time armed with complete knowledge of my medical history and a determination to pursue single motherhood, if that's what I wanted. The baby items from the half-finished nursery at home had been donated to a women's shelter. All except one small stuffed elephant I'd bought during our first IVF cycle, a reminder not of what I'd lost, but of what I'd survived. Well, I'd say he got exactly what he deserved, my attorney remarked, handing me a pen. I signed the papers, then sat back with a strange sense of lightness. No, he got less than he deserved. But I got my life back, and that's what matters. As I left the office, my phone buzzed with a text from Daniel, who had become a steady friend through the divorce. Celebrating tonight? First round's on me. I smiled, thinking of the airplane ticket to Boston tucked in my purse and the future stretching out before me, uncertain but entirely my own. Absolutely, I replied. To new beginnings. Was I wrong to walk away from 8 years of marriage without trying to fix things? Should I have fought harder for the man who betrayed me so completely? Some days I still wonder. But then I remember the nursery in that secret apartment, and I know some lies can never be forgiven.